All right, folks, we are back, and joining us once again on the program, I'm very happy to say, is Governor Jim Gilmore, the former governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Hello, Governor.
Good afternoon, Steve. How are you?
Good to talk to you again, and
Yes,
of course, also the president and the CEO of the Free Congress Foundation, and the growth code is big there, and we're going to talk all about that. We have some time to do that today, but your impressions on the numbers that have been released for the Obamacare, as they say, enrollees, which they say does not mean that they actually paid, but 106,000 people and only 26,700 of them through healthcare.gov.
Well, look, I think this. I think that we should not get bogged down in the question of computer machines and computer programs. I think as conservatives, we've got to go to the underlying question of whether or not this was ever a good idea in the first place. Obamacare is a one-size-fits-all. It's going to be very disruptive in terms of existing insurance policies. We're seeing that right now. People who are signing up may very well have had their own insurance policies canceled because they're having to sign up for programs that are not suitable for them. Employers are saying, look, if you're going to make me add all these additional unnecessary costs on, then I'm not going to just carry it at all. We'll just throw people on to the exchanges, and ergo you get your 106,000 people.
Yeah.
Medicaid expansion is a serious problem for the states. Medicaid will break the states. And so I think the question is, how do we really get back to the business of applying some real market solutions to the health care issues instead of just suffering through this inappropriate Obamacare type of program?
And how would you go about that? I mean, I've been saying all along that as a first step, the Republicans in the House, because they'll never let them do it in the Senate, needs to just pass something so that they can at least show the folks and the critics that they're not just quote-unquote obstructionists as they're being called, but here's our plan. It's passed the House. Now let it go to the Senate and put 5 or 6 or 7 things on one piece of paper, the good points, if you will, of Obamacare, no pre-existing conditions, et cetera, and say, here's our bill.
Well, let's just talk about this for a second, because if there's one message I'd like to give your listeners today, it's this. We need, as Republicans and as conservatives, to really reach out to lots and lots of people that we're not reaching out to. We're sending hostile messages, so we need to be in a position to reach out. But the second thing we have to do is we have to offer constructive solutions, and we have to do it from a genuinely conservative point of view, which is what I was alluding to just a few minutes ago. So you asked me a question, I'll give you an answer. We could put together a program that relies upon employers the way that we have in the past and allows those programs to be tailored. We could even continue to rely upon self-insurance programs where a person, self-insures or a company self-insures people up to a certain limit, and then over that you buy a larger insurance policy to cover it. Now you're beginning to make it an employee benefit again, even for low-wage employees. Then on Medicaid, I think it's imperative that the states have the ability to tailor those benefit programs and not simply have a national program jammed down their throats. Medicare is in place for senior citizens, and you can do something that's actually constructive, but something that actually uses the market system and the aspirations of people to have good employees and good opportunities and productivity that, frankly, the Obamacare socialized medicine is not doing.
Now, how would you prescribe, since we're talking about Obamacare and medical terms, how would you go about, writing the prescription for turning this around and fixing it? I mean, what needs to happen? Does Obama need to say, you're right, let's scrap it and start over, which isn't going to happen? If you're the Republican leadership right now in the House, what do you do right now? Do you propose what you just went through as the tenet for a future plan that would be approved by everyone?
Yes, and it's not the only possible solution, but what we got to do is analyze why Obamacare is not working. Don't worry about the computers. If you have access to all the tax money of the American people, you can sure fix the computers. That's not the problem. In fact, that's a straw man. You don't want the left coming back at you and saying, oh, well, we got the computers fixed, so now everything is just hunky-dory.
Right.
The underlying problem is they're socializing medicine, and you can't do it with one-size-fits-all with doing it and getting good results for people. People are having their insurance policies canceled. They're having to sign up for the exchanges. They're having increased premiums. The idea that they're going to keep their own doctors is not true, and people are very frustrated by the whole thing. That's, by the way, what in a way, began to move voters the other way in the Virginia race this past election. But let me answer your question directly. Yeah, I think we need to put together a good, solid Republican conservative approach and begin to work off of that play sheet. And then if Obama predictably says, no, wait a minute, I've already won my battle, it's already the law, and I'm not changing, then fine. Then take it back to the voters again in 2014 and, take it to the public. This is still the democracy we live in. Let's take it to the public and explain that we're not going to throw people on the street, and we want people to have access to good health care. But the Obama system is going to crash at some point, and everybody's life's going to be screwed up. So that's, I think, the point we need to make.
We're talking to Governor Jim Gilmore, former governor of Virginia, here on the Steve Malzberg Show, president and CEO of the Free Congress Foundation, which is at freecongress.org. All right, now talk about what your organization does and what you're pushing for. We have a lot more time than we had the last time around.
Well, I'm grateful. Free Congress Foundation is an old conservative think tank. And I have reoriented it and revitalized it and put it into a place where it's really trying to find conservative solutions to the problems facing the United States. And that's what we do. We're putting together a new program. We're called AmericanOpportunity.org. There's a web page on that that's developing right now.
I hope you're not using the Obamacare, folks.
Yeah, that's right. That would be that. Maybe that's why we're so slow. But the real key to this thing is you got to be willing to reach out to lots of people. Okay, I get that. When I ran for governor, I got 20% of the African American vote because I went to the community and started listening to what people were concerned about. And we need to do that as Republicans and conservatives. I might add, by the way, Free Congress is not a Republican organization. It's a nonpartisan conservative think tank, and we make our information available to Republicans and Democrats, and we reach out to Republicans and Democrats to try to find solutions for the country. But then when I take off that hat and I put on my former governor, former RNC chairman hat, now I'm a Republican again, and I just make the delineation very, very clear between the organization and what Jim Gilmore does as an individual.
Well, I'd love to talk to you more right now about reaching out. I had a conversation, and I've had these conversations since Michael Steele was elected chair of the RNC, and he was on with me at the time, and I had supported him, and I invited him. I said, come to New York City, and I'll try to find places we could go together up in minority areas and black communities, Hispanic communities, and we could start the reach out. I'm not blaming him for never taking me up on that, but it just seems like Republicans are incapable, unwilling, whatever it is, they just don't get it done when, in fact, I'm sure you'll agree, conservative values are a mainstay in general of the African-American community, of the Hispanic community in this country when it comes to family values, education, hard work, religion, life. All these things we have in common, yet we get just totally blown away at the voting booth.
Absolutely, but that's because we have a tendency to send hostile messages to people and to try to, and we're sort of suggesting, well, what their goals and aspirations aren't those of Republicans or conservatives, and that is not true. First, the thing I want to do is I want to make a distinction. Some of our conservative or pretend conservative friends are saying you just ought to go and show up. Well, while it's important to go and see people, you can't talk at people. I know Rand Paul went over to Howard University, and he was talking at the community and saying, well, we're Republicans and we've got this long history. I don't agree with that. I think what you have to do is you have to go in the community and listen a little bit and then find conservative solutions to the problems that they're telling you about. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
I do not believe that people who are on welfare or on food stamps want to be there forever. I believe young women who have children, a child at home or children at home, would love to have an opportunity to have a career path of some kind where she can better herself. Look, many conservatives think, oh, well, these folks are getting free stuff and they're never going anywhere. I just don't buy that. I think if you offer a genuine opportunity for a real advancement in the American society, people will take it. And that's why we're emphasizing at Free Congress so much, for example, that we need to build up this economy, get jobs going again, get a full employment program going, and build this economy and give people opportunities. And we're not doing it right now. Obama's not doing a thing right now to build up this economy and to create opportunities for people.
No,
and I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, in fact, if you look at, the Republicans are tagged with this so-called war on women. That's become the popular phrase. And if you look at the employment numbers and the labor statistics, there are fewer women in the workforce now than there has been in many, many, many years. African-American unemployment is hugely disproportionate to the rest of the population, and right on down the line. So here's a chance for Republicans not only to make note of that or exploit it, whatever you want to call it, but also do exactly what you've said. So my next question is, why is it very rarely, if ever, done?
The party right now is, in my judgment, fairly confused. We've got a lot of different factions, and each faction thinks their issue is the most important thing in the world. And the fact is they can win the argument inside the Republican Party, but they got to start thinking about people who are not in the Republican Party. And, a lot of women out there in this country aren't in the Republican Party. It's one thing to talk about your values on the pro-life issue and so on, and I was a pro-life governor, but to dictate to women and say, no, we're going to run a program where we're going to tell you what to do is a sure recipe for not getting women's vote. And I think this is one more example where you got to go to women and say, look, we're going to offer some opportunities. We know single women are often and single family households are unemployed and finding a difficult path upwards. We're going to address those issues, but we get confused because they all say, yeah, I know, but you're going to dictate to me on what I'm going to do in my personal life.
Well, Governor,
let
me ask you this. I agree. It is challenging. And where do you find I don't know if a middle ground is good enough. Where do you find the ability to properly approach those people in the way you just said and not lose the base who are saying, we don't want abortion. You're not going to murder these unborn babies. So how do you reach out to them in that tone and that way without alienating the base, which in past national elections and maybe even to an extent in Virginia, we've seen some evangelicals are staying home?
Yeah, no, but listen, we've got to have a level playing field in the marketplace of ideas where pro-life people can make their case. And I actually think they've made their case fairly well over the last 10 or 20 years.
Especially with science, absolutely.
Absolutely. But when you cross over then and say, but by the way, we're not really conservatives, not really. We're just going to tell you what we think and what you're going to do with your life in an authoritarian way, you lose those votes. So I think we ought to be able to have the evangelical community be able to make their case in the strongest possible fashion without at the same time trying to dictate to people and lose their votes totally. And that's what I'm hearing out there among women in the United States of America.
All right, Governor, fascinating conversation. I look forward to the next one. Thank you very much.
In the United States of America.
All right, Governor, fascinating conversation. I look forward to the next one. Thank you very much. Freecongress.org and eventually AmericanOpportunity.org. Once those darn Obama people get that website up and running. No, I'm only kidding. Great to talk to the governor, and we will have him back soon, I promise you. All right, folks, one final segment coming up in this hour. And you're not going to want to miss the next hour with Charles Hurd of the Washington Times, James O'Keefe, who's gone undercover and found out what the navigators of Obamacare are up to, some of them. All that ahead on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV.